this nightmare I wish I'd wake. As my whole life begins to shake, four walls surround me in empty gaze. Can't find my way out of this maze. Cause I don't care, fall in, fall out, gone without a doubt. I can't take the blame, they don't feel the shame, or so they claim. It's a madhouse. I'm insane. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter from deep in the bowels of our underground lair, where we can put together a more compelling 2 hours of audio engagement than the Democrat nominee for president can do in 20 minutes.
Well, let me see if I can.
I believe it.
The problem, with problems, is they are problematic. And the problem needs a solution. There's my best Kamala. I do others better, okay? Just put it that way.
Oh, let's hope this is a short-lived time in the public eye, Let's hope.
It lasts about another 9 or 10 weeks. Jay, I don't know the song, but I do.
Yeah.
I've heard it, but I don't know who sings it. So there's that.
It's Madhouse by Anthrax.
Oh, the white powder I got mailed the other day. Patrick Leahy mailed it to me.
Yes.
Leaky Leahy, he mailed it to me. Just so you know.
Yes,
He's still around? Is he still around? Leaky Leahy?
You must
Senator
be.
Depends? I don't know. He's got to be like 90 if he's still alive. I don't know. I don't know. He was Vermont, right? Or what was it?
Yeah.
I don't know. If he was
Patrick Leahy.
Leahy.
Vermont.
I got to say this, Jay. I got to say one thing before we get going too far, because I want to bring up poll numbers. We're going to be inundated. In fact, I might do some videos on this because I'm getting very who's not frustrated with the mainstream media? They reach an all-time low every day.
Yes.
And thank goodness for the alternative media, or it'd be, the mainstream media has one goal, and that's to depress people of a certain. I think it may have the opposite effect. I think it actually will boomerang. It's my opinion. But to miss word salad here.
Well, I believe that they actually think they're swaying independence.
Well, I don't know where they get that from. I think that in New York and Washington, remember, they look at the rest of the country with contempt.
Yeah.
They're smarter than we are.
Right.
Why aren't we listening to them? Why does Joe Rogan have 20 times the audience of CNN? Mm-hmm. Why? I mean, they have no self-reflection. I mean, they have no ability to look at themselves and say, we have 50 producers, gazillions of dollars, a mega corporation behind us, and podcasters get more likes and subscriptions and views than we do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible that they don't do that, but they don't. Okay. And we're going to be inundated with poll numbers, and it is hard not to look at them. I mean, I try not to.
Yeah.
I try not to look. I try not to go to the left-wing sites like 538, Nate Silver, who admits he's a liberal. At least he admits it.
Right.
538 is, of course, owned by ABC, which is owned by Disney. And you can't find somebody who was more off in 2020 than Nate Silver. I mean, he was off in some states by 12 points. So I don't know why we keep going back to the same people who are constantly wrong. Quinnipiac, they screwed up one state by 13. What's the new Quinnipiac? But why are we bothering with it? But we're going to be inundated. This is just what I want to just say, spend 10, 15 minutes on this.
Okay.
We all know in 16 and in 20, a lot of polls were off.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm not sure people realize by how much. I mean, you'd think after 16 the polling industry would have sat down and said, okay, how did we miss this? Some pollsters did it. Scott Rasmussen was one.
Yeah.
And he has done podcasts and videos explaining what he thought he missed. And it was interesting because what he thought he missed was that Republicans, in where you have to declare a party on your registration, were outpacing Democrats, for example, in Pennsylvania 2-1 between 2014 and 16.
Yeah.
And he goes, I think that's the pocket of people that they missed. They didn't get those new registers. They underestimated same-day registration in places like that. Nobody was same-day registering to vote for Mrs. Clinton.
No.
If you were doing that in 16, you were voting Trump or Gary Johnson or something like that.
In Minneapolis, they were same-day registering for Clinton.
True. There could have been some college towns or something, but I think it was Trump by a wide margin. If you decided late in that election.
Buses of immigrants.
Yeah. But if you decided late, Trump was the guy you voted for.
Yes.
Okay? In that race. So you think in 2020,
yes,
most pollsters would have fixed what they thought was wrong.
But I think, again, you have a bunch
Do
of
they
people
care?
from the
Why don't
left
they care?
that think they can sway independents by their numbers. Appealing to people's want to be on the winning team. You know what I mean? But Trafalgar said this, that Robert... The guy that does the polling.
Robert Cahey.
Yes. That he believed that there was in 16 and even in 20, I think, that to a degree, there were people that were quiet backers of Trump, but that would never tell anybody they were backing Trump.
Right. That's true.
And I think maybe with everything going on in our society, I don't know to what degree that's still happening. I mean, you have a lot of African-American males that are coming out. There are rappers that are writing songs dissing Kamala.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, look at just the last week, RFK and Tulsi Gabbard. These are two people who ran against Trump.
Yeah.
Or Tulsi tried to.
Right.
And now they endorse him.
Yeah.
I mean...
Well, it's because they see the danger in the Democrat Party.
And Trump's realigning politics. I mean, we have seen this where we had a political realignment in the Jackson, John Quincy Adams, Henry Clay days. Mm-hmm. We had one after the Civil War. We had one, after the Depression. We had one in the 60s. I thought we had one under Reagan.
Yeah.
We did. So we've seen this 10 times maybe in our history.
Right.
And I think for every low-level McCain advisor who's signing a letter saying that they're going to support Harris and lists no reason that they're going to do it. I mean, they don't have a reason. They're just doing it to spite President Trump.
I think that the Republican Party has less and less room for your war hawks and your neocons, and I think that's part of the reason is that, like you say, the Republican Party is being realigned, and that's
the Republican Party's sick of it.
And I think that is something that we're going to have to do a show about, where you and I kind of talk about what that looks like, because there are some things that are great about having a bigger tent, but there are some things that I don't want to go soft on. The abortion issue, or
you and I don't see eye to eye on abortion, though. I mean, that's an issue that we need to stop talking about.
We do, but
we do, but I'm not passionate on that issue, and so.
But I mean, that's just one of the things. There are a number of issues where today's Republican Party might. The Republican Party of yore maybe is going to have some friction with some of the new people coming into the party, and I don't know what that looks like.
I don't either, but I think that I guess my answer to that is I don't care who identifies themselves as a Republican.
Yeah.
To me, I'm just Trump said something the other day that was interesting to me. How he said that in his second term, I want to focus less on ideology and more on competency.
Yeah.
I can put somebody at the head. I'm paraphrasing. because Trump does so much media, unlike
Yeah.
another candidate that
Yes.
I can't remember who he said this to, but he said that I want people who I'm confident can do the job. If they disagree with me on another issue, I don't care anymore.
Right.
I want this run right.
Right.
And he thinks that's a big mistake he made in the first term, was trying to placate this part of the Republican Party. And I think he tried to do that, and I think he gets that just satisfied nobody.
Right.
And and I think that's a good way to approach this, that okay, there's nothing wrong with a party internally debating that states should be doing, and that
There's
the
a
government
whole
shouldn't
lot of
be.
that.
I
Yeah.
think there's, so I mean, I think that though Trump has his pulse on the Republican Party way more accurately than the old kind of country club Republicans. The Republican Party has no appetite to fight a war anywhere. Zero. They have none. Now, the politicians may be different.
Right.
But the actual party, you walk into a room, none of them want anything to do with going and fighting somewhere else.
And if there was actually, if there was actually an appetite for that, there would have been some competition in the primaries this year, right? Because there was definitely, a candidate that was all for going at it in Ukraine, and she lost handily. She stuck around, but it was by her own will, not because the people were demanding it, And Haley, I think, some issues, sure, she might be closer to Trump, but then there's other ones like that. And I think when you look at people like her, but even more so the Bushes, the McCains, the Romneys, there's just no room for that anymore.
But there was, in those years, there was a lot of frustration with the border and frustration with not reducing the size of the federal government.
Yeah.
It was all talk back then.
Yep.
I mean, there's just a lot of, I think that Trump has brought a lot of that out. It was always there. There was always the Pat Buchanan, Tom Tancredo, Duncan Hunter wing of the party.
Yeah.
But I think it's changed that where it's, no, you are wishy-washy on the border. We don't want you.
Right.
And so I think Trump actually has his finger on it much better than he gets credit for. So look, there is going to be, if Trump wins with the Republican House and Senate, there's going to be some negotiating that has to go. Trump's going to do what he can, executively.
Yeah.
And there's a handful of things he can do.
Right.
I know Trump's probably not going to overdo it, because he's been very critical of that and reversed a lot of Obama things. There's going to be I don't want to call it a fight, but there's going to be an internal negotiation about what to tackle first. And, there's no doubt that's going to happen. But let me get back to the polling for a minute.
Okay.
We can get into that more in a second. You'd think that the polling industry would learn from 2016. Now, you mentioned that they don't care to learn. I don't get that. I don't get why. If I was a brain surgeon and screwed up a surgery, I'd want to know what I did wrong.
Right.
Your reputation means something. And I just can't get over 2020. In some cases, the polls were wrong by more than in 16. I'm going to just bring up 4 states. Now, of these 4 states, President Trump won 3 of them and lost 1 by a razor-thin margin. Iowa.
Yes.
I'm going to 270 to win, Rear Clear Politics, and 538, the supposed experts on, and I'm using air quotes here, on averaging polls and putting it in somebody's camp. Do you know Jay, take a guess what the polls had Trump up in Iowa in 2020, right before the election, that weekend.
What the polls said? He was up by 2.
Okay, he was up by 1.5.
Okay.
Do you know what he actually won the state by?
6?
8.2.
8.2.
They were off 6.7%.
Wow.
Now that is way outside anybody's margin of error.
Absolutely.
It's almost laugh at it. I can remember in 2020, I remember Iowa not being called.
Yep.
For hours, and it's like 96% of the votes,
right.
97% said, I'm like, Trump's lead is widening, and they're not calling it.
Yeah.
Because they just, again, wouldn't believe their own numbers.
Yeah.
Ohio, great state of Ohio.
Yes.
Now, keep in mind, Trump won this Iowa and Ohio also in 16.
Yeah.
Where the polls were way off in there also. The average, take a guess, Jay, the weekend before the 2020 election.
I'll say had him up by 4. Wait, no, I take that back because it was still in 2020. It was still considered a swing state. So I'm going to say 3.
Okay. 1.
1 still. Oof.
You know what he won it by?
He won it by like 10, didn't he?
8.1.
Oh.
8.1.
Yeah.
Again, 7.1%. They were off. Florida.
Yes.
Take a guess the weekend before the election.
Yeah, probably like 1.5.
Biden by 0.9.
Biden by 0.9.
Trump won by 3.4.
Huh.
And this is the state that I'm telling you, if Harris is not up by 10,
Yeah.
she's going to lose it. Wisconsin.
Yes.
Weekend before the election.
Had Biden up by 5.
Biden by 8.1. He won it by 0.3. Man. So 7.8% they
Yeah.
were off. Now, why do I bring this up? Okay. I bring it up because, again, I still think the pollsters are wrong.
Yeah.
They're still off.
That's true.
And I want to cite, I'm going to use a general election poll here, which I don't like. I don't understand why we're so obsessed with general election polls. I just don't get this.
Right.
But it's very weird poll. This is by YouGov, Yahoo YouGov.
Yeah.
Of course, is left wing. Listen to this. It has Harris 47, Trump 46, which is actually a 1-point improvement for Trump. Keep in mind, this is right after the DNC convention.
Yeah.
So Trump has gained a point after the convention. He gained a point in this poll.
Yeah.
And then they had taken one with RFK and one without. That might account for a little bit of it. Okay. They didn't publish that. They only published the one that didn't have RFK. Harris has 97% support of Democrats. Trump has 95% support of Republicans. I think that's off a little bit. I don't think Harris quite has that. Again, let's just call that even.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what the independents say? Now we've been told by the mainstream media that Trump's losing them. Harris is gaining. She's surging. That's the narrative we keep hearing.
Yeah.
But what's the truth?
Trump by 4.
Trump by 10.
By 10.
Now let me ask a question to YouGov Yahoo. How can both Harris and and Trump have 95 and change support of their party, and Trump be up by 10 among independents, yet he's down by 1 in the poll? Now, tell me how you arrive at that. Of course, they don't do this. They don't publish this.
Right.
I think they've gotten caught oversampling. The only thing I can think of is that you are way oversampling Democrats. That's the only thing that makes any sense.
Right.
In the previous election, 2020, this is how the American people describe themselves. 36% Republican, 36% Democrat, 28% independent or libertarian, whatever, other, let's put it that way. So if your poll doesn't have 36, 36, 28, it's inaccurate of the country. So, again, you look at that poll, and all anybody notices is the headline. Yes. Harris by 1. Poll shows Harris surging. Harris has lost a point since the convention, which is unbelievable. I've never seen it. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael Dukakis was like ahead by 10 after his convention. So what I'm saying is I don't want people to look at and then you have to take into account what I just read.
Yeah.
How off and wrong they were wrong by 8 points on Donald Trump when he'd been president for 4 years. So all I can, and look, again, Jay, I wish I could avoid this crap. I wish I could stop looking, I just so wish I could turn this off, but I'm not wired that way. So I have to obsess about it. I have to look at it. I have to break it down. I have to do this garbage, and I don't want to. But I feel like by the way, I'm not doing any analysis that CNN couldn't do, or ABC, or NBC.
They won't.
What I just did in 15 minutes, they could easily do themselves with their 50 producers and 100 researchers.
Right. But they don't, because they have an agenda.
But why is this woman worth selling out your soul for?
Because they like the power. They like to feel special. They like the dinner that they're going to, they're going to
They
get
have
favored
cocktail
status.
parties at the...
you know.
Where they'll cover up a president's health and decline and
Right.
all that. All right. I just have to say all this because it's embarrassing. I mean, it's just embarrassing to watch. And I'm not saying I don't know what's going to happen, but if you figure in Wisconsin, if they were wrong by 7.5 points last time, you got to figure them wrong by 2 to 4 is at minimum reasonable.
Yeah.
Just reasonable to say. And like I said, latest Emerson, I don't know anything about Emerson polling, but the latest Emerson polling that came out today, after this was taken last weekend, after the DNC convention ended Thursday night, Trump up 1 in Wisconsin. Now, what does that tell you? Probably tells me he's up 5.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had to put a finger on it, that's probably where he is. Now, you can't rest on that.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know. I think there's going to be some, you imagine a third straight election that they get wrong.
Oh, my word. Well, I mean, the left will cover for them, though. I mean, nothing's going to happen to them.
Of course, it never does.
No.
Speaking of the media colluding and covering up for somebody, I got to give Tim Walz credit to an extent.
Yeah?
Because I have never heard anybody, quote unquote, misspeak more by not saying anything. I mean, the guy hasn't said anything in 3 weeks. And yet I've never heard so much misspeaking. Can you tell me, Jay, how do you misspeak on whether or not you went to Afghanistan or not? Now, I can name off the top of my head all the countries I've been to. It's not very many.
Yeah.
Okay. But I didn't forget any.
Right.
So how do you misspeak about going to Afghanistan? Can somebody just tell me that?
Well,
how does that happen?
There's a couple of ways. One would be dementia, which I don't think he has. 2 would be a vibrant sense of imagination, which he could have. Another could be outright lying, which I'm pretty sure is the case. He could have got a big smack to the head and maybe has amnesia.
We could get that lucky.
I'm really trying hard here to give him some excuses on, but
I mean, misspeak about your rank.
Yeah,
and by that I don't mean your odor. I mean you can't remember what rank you were. I mean that's just,
right.
I mean, come on. He tried to get away with lying, and now he wants to play the victim.
Right, and
it's just God. It's so, And here's the thing. Here's the thing about Harris and Walz and their dodging the press and all that. Even the press is fawning over them, and they dodge them anyway. Is these stories can be quelched very quickly.
Yeah, with
one honest sit down where you face some hard questions.
Yep.
And follow-ups and all that. I mean, 9 times out of 10, things like that go away.
Yeah.
With one just brutally honest take like that.
Mm-hmm.
And by not saying anything, by leaving it out there, by letting others define you,
mm-hmm.
I mean, let me ask you this. The whole thing of dodging the press, the whole thing of agreeing to only one debate, we as a nation have to ensure that strategy fails, because that is a trend in politics right now.
Yes.
Is to run for something and then dither, dodge, only talk to friendlies, only put out statements.
Mm-hmm.
And that really concerns me.
Yes.
And that worries me for the country. I mean, this woman wants the secret nuclear codes. You'd think she could sit down with a Fox News debate.
You would
if
think
you
so.
Can't handle that, how can you handle Putin?
Exactly.
I mean, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, you think you're going to end up in a room with Xi and come out on top when you can't even handle George Stephanopoulos?
George Snuffleupagus? I can't explain it either. I mean, I really can't. I don't understand how, because here's the thing, too. If you do a lot of interviews, if you did 50 interviews and you screwed up 2 or 3, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, okay, it'll be in the news for a day. And then, this country, we just move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
We just move on to the next missing child or the next, the next bombing in Gaza. I mean, we would just... football opener. We just move on to the next story.
Yeah.
When you are quiet and then come out, all eyes are on you.
Mm-hmm.
And all eyes are also on the interviewer.
Yeah.
Because if they softball you, there's a difference between it being visual, I think, and being talked about by talking heads.
Yeah.
I think visual is very different.
Right.
That's my opinion, and I could be wrong, but
Yeah, it's definitely, I think, worse for the interviewer and for the interviewee when there's not much material to go on, because everybody's kind of hanging on whatever it is you're saying, because there's nothing else. They've never heard it before. They've never read it before. You're giving it to them for the first time because you've been hiding.
What do you think of that? Why do you think they're doing that? I mean, come on. I mean, with Biden, I got it because he
couldn't.
He was falling over, and George, I invented NATO, George. Nobody said they could do it except me. I got it done. I mean, it was. So I mean, Biden, but Biden sat down more. Barack Obama had a lead in the elections. He didn't hide from. He sat down with Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like President Obama, but I mean, I can't say that he spent his time hiding.
Right. No, that is the new trend. I mean, Walz did, one debate with Scott Jensen?
Yeah, and then didn't show up. He tried to back out of another one, too.
Yeah.
He wanted to do one, like, on Halloween, like 4 days before he definitely backed out. But again, strategy worked.
Yeah.
He didn't want to talk. When the shutdowns were going on, the guy needed TV cameras to metabolize his food. As soon as re-election started, he ran.
Yeah.
But that's my fear, is that is working.
As Americans, we've got to demand that these people are accountable before they get elected and after. I mean, there's no good reason that they're not doing press conferences, that they're not showing up and answering questions.
Well, you know what the
reporters.
media should be doing?
Yeah.
They should be getting in her face.
But they won't.
They should be blocking her way to get on Air Force One. They should be cornering her at a rally where they bus people in from 4 hours away like they did in Georgia.
But they won't. And then the ones who do are treated horribly by the politicians that are being questioned. It's our right to have this information.
But that exposes them. That's the thing. That exposes them. I think I think we need 20 or 30 Peter Duceys out there to, break through that. A candidate that tries to control everything is very scary.
Yeah.
It's just very scary. I mean, I'd oppose it on the right, too. You have to get out there to the people, and you've got to be held accountable for what you've done, good or bad. And personally, if I were Trump, I'd talk a little less personally, because I think Trump is talking to the point where, but I talked about this previously. I used this conversation with Elon Musk, which was so good. I was so impressed with Trump's knowledge about currency and the electrical grid. And, Elon obviously is in that business. But the takeaway from it was, Elon gave Trump softballs, or Elon let Trump say this, or Trump said this about him. Like, really? That's your takeaway from that? But it's to the point where Trump, even though he's right in what he's saying, has to hone that message in more.
Yeah.
And even though I loved that interview, I thought it was just fabulous. Or conversation. It was more a conversation.
Yeah. Between
these two giants, these two huge successes. And I think an average person would find it very interesting. I just wonder, you literally have a candidate not capable of having that conversation.
Right.
You ask Kamala Harris about the electrical grid, what's she going to say? The burden is unburdened if it's not burdensome. I mean, that's what she's going to say. What? Mm-hmm. It's gibberish.
Yes.
So, what? I mean, crazy.
Yeah.
So, I sit there and say, I don't know that Trump has to do that stuff. I mean, I think he enjoys it. He did another sit down with Dr. Phil the other day.
Right.
And I like Phil as an interviewer. I mean, he and Trump seem to have a good rapport, and I thought Phil did a good job of I thought he asked different questions than like a reporter would ask.
Right.
Maybe that's why I liked it so much.
Right. Well, and the same thing with Elon. I mean, he's not a journalist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You accuse him of throwing softballs, but I mean, he's just the guy that owns X and Tesla, but he's not an interviewer. He didn't go to Columbia University, and study to become a journalist. It didn't happen. So you can be critical of him all you want, but I would argue that he's doing a job that is a million times better than your typical
Yeah.
journalist from New York Times, WAPO.
What journalist from the New York Times is asked about currency?
Yeah, none of them.
That's about the electrical grid. Oh, we need electric vehicles. Well, there's a little issue with that. How about we talk to Elon Musk, the guy who makes them? Wouldn't that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know. But that's the thing about journalists, too. There's no curiosity.
Right.
There's no...
They're taught to embrace a worldview and to push that worldview, not to go find answers.
Well, I don't know. Jay, I don't know what's going to change it. I think the mainstream media is beyond being able to swing that back. The only thing that can do it, and this is very far fetched, is these mega corporations are the biggest wimps. Executive boards, they're such wusses.
Yeah.
And they can be pushed by the public.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's going to take Disney, Viacom, Comcast, whoever owns CNN now, Turner something. I mean, CNN was very different when Ted owned it, even though Ted was eccentric. Let's just call him that. But CNN was not, man, you go back when Turner himself owned it. They had Lou Dobbs, they had Tucker Carlson, they had Bob Novak, they had Glenn Beck.
Yeah.
I mean, they had their left-wing ideologues too, but at least they tried.
Right.
The last 15 years, they've, and it coincides with their decline, which I just don't get why they can't recognize that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, it is because the agenda comes first. And
whose agenda?
The left. I mean, you think about it. They all come out of these left-leaning journalism schools, and they're taught that the agenda is what matters, that it's not about fact-finding or...
You know what I'm tired of? I'm tired of the campaign talking heads on TV.
Yeah.
That's what I'm sick of. Even though I find some of them insightful and interesting. The ones that are willing to be honest and not just cheerlead for one side.
Right.
I find David Axelrod interesting.
Huh.
I have no idea why. I don't know. I never voted for President Obama, never would. Don't agree with Axelrod that much, but I actually find his analysis interesting.
Right.
Because he will come out and say, yeah, the Democrats screwed that up. Oh, he's not afraid to say it.
Carville's another one.
Carville's, there's other good ones. Julian Epstein's a very good one. Doug Schoen's a very good one. There's a couple others I can't. They're on the tip of my tongue. I can see them and I can't think of them. But and there's good ones on the right who don't just sit there and look through everything through red glasses. They say what's on their mind, and if it but when I see the mouthpieces, because I gotta tell you, Jay, I just can't lie like that.
Right. Yeah, I don't tune in to news programs so I can be lied to, so that someone can make me feel good about something that's actually terrible. I want to know what's going on, and I want to know the truth.
I just can't go out there and lie. I can't go out there and lie for somebody.
Yeah.
I can't go out there and spin everything. Both sides have them. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
I just can't do that. I have to be. No amount of money would get me to do that. I have to be. I have to be. I couldn't go to bed that night. I just had the American public in my face. And I lied through my teeth.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. There's the Gavin Newsoms of the world who can just do that. They don't sweat. They don't blink. They don't.
Yeah.
It's really scary. So yeah, the talking heads are what I'm sick of. And there are plenty of them on the right I don't like, and I'd just rather watch something else. So I don't know. And the expert pollster. I mean, if I see Frank Luntz described as that one more time, I'm just going to dive through the TV and gouge his eyeballs out. It's just Frank, a classic guy. He and David Brooks, the two guys nobody likes.
Yeah.
It's just nobody likes those two. They're always on TV. They're always wrong. It's like Bill Kristol. The guy hasn't been right since Eisenhower, and yet he is just always on as an expert, in this or that. It's like go start a war. So, but do you think the press is getting antsy with Harris? Do you think they're growing frustrated?
Yeah, you see some signs of that. We'll see if that calms down after they do this scripted interview. But
I don't. The clips I've seen,
yeah,
I think, and I'll say this: I'll give some credit to Politico, even to the Washington Post. When Harris came out with her, I'm going to give every homeowner $25,000. I'm going to price gouge. It was literally panned everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, Politico did like 5 pieces on it.
Mm-hmm.
We tried this, Ms. Harris, back in the 70s, and it caused a recession for a decade.
Yeah.
FYI. I mean, it was, she's not talking about it now.
Right.
It was just whoop, swing at a mess. That away. So, I mean, to see the right pounce on that, the right was just shaking, ready to go on something. But to see the left pounce on it, I gotta say, I was surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, I really was. I mean, obviously the DNC convention took that headline away, but I mean, I'm sure that was on purpose. But I was very shocked to see, that they didn't bring out victims or something like that and make that more of an issue. I was quite surprised at it.
Yeah.
So Jay, put your crystal ball in here now. We got a debate coming up in less than 2 weeks. Might be the only one.
Yeah.
I predict it won't be.
You think she'll...
Yes, I think she'll have to do another one.
You think she's going to do bad enough that she's going to have to do another one?
Yes, because I think that... I think Trump gets it. Like the first debate with Biden, I kept thinking, I hope Trump just doesn't go overboard. And even though he's right, it's, let Biden hang himself. And Trump performed almost too good.
Yeah.
That it knocked his opponent out. And I think Trump is aware that he has to go after her, but make it policy, hammer her on that border.
Yeah.
Hammer her on inflation. Take every question. The guy turned January 6th into a debate about inflation.
Yes.
You just took the question and threw it back at them. And I think that's what he's got. I think that's what he is going to do. Now,
yeah.
Kamala has to show up with a pulse,
right.
And that's better than Biden. But, again, because she's avoided so much stuff, and with Trump there and not the softball answer stuff, she can't just get away with word salading it.
No.
And avoiding an answer. I mean, Trump will call that out if...
Yeah.
Now, and there's a thing, too. Mitt Romney wouldn't do that.
Right.
Trump will. There's the difference there.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's got to watch how he does it, though. He can't go, America, you've got to see how stupid she is.
Right.
You can't do that. What you're going to have to do is I would take the same thing you said to Biden and say it to her. I'm not really sure what she said right there, and I don't know if she knows either.
I really don't know what he said right there. I'm not sure he knows. Yeah. Trump was a lot nicer than he had to be.
Yeah.
I think he saw Biden self-destructing and just let it go. But, he has to keep it focused on the main issues, the issues that he's winning on, He's going to win on them.
Right.
He's got to hammer her over changing positions or trying to take both sides. I think he will, but I'll tell you what, there's going to be, like I said, there's going to be a lot on the moderators because Dana Bash is getting hit really hard right now. Yeah, even from the left on Twitter right now. As you know, that interview sucked. It was boring. There was no follow-ups. And they're not going to be able to get away, I don't think. I mean, and look, to be fair to her and Jake Tapper, I mean, they were pretty good at the CNN debate. I mean, there was a few moments that, you know, I was not real happy about. But if I had to give them a grade, I wouldn't give them a bad grade.
No, B minus.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the best moderator is the one I can't remember.
Yeah. You
know, it's like a good umpire is the one I don't know his name.
Right.
You know, because they don't make themselves the game. So I don't know. I mean, I do worry about Trump going overboard, but I think he gets it. I really do. I think that too, that to see him make up with Brian Kemp, to see what he's doing by bringing in these other people, you know, I just get the hunch that it's funny. He was asked again. I can't remember the show. Was asked about, Kamala's going to go do 4 days of debate prep, but what are you going to do? And Trump said something like, he goes, well, I've been prepping my whole life. I don't do anything.
Right.
We'll just go. It's just.
Yeah, even Tulsi Gabbard said recently, because she's helping him prepare.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, you know, helping President Trump prepare for a debate is not like helping other like political candidates. There's no comparison.
So, you know, I think Trump's a good debater. I really think he's a good debater. And
I think he can be. I think sometimes he speaks in generalities a little too much and wish that he'd have more like facts, like hard, cold facts. Like when they speak the lie again about Charlottesville.
That's one thing that
tell them what you said and direct people back to Snopes.
Yeah. Well, I do think I think one thing I'd like him to do too, and he does this, but not enough.
Yeah.
Is talk about, you know, when you talk about inflation. When I left office, it was 1.4%. And I think he needs to say that over and over and over. You know, we had 2.8% interest rates. And say that over. And now he says it.
Right.
But it's not something you remember when he gives an hour-long dissertation.
Right.
You know, I mean, and again, he has good things to say, but there always has to be a take with gas, $1.79 when I left office. Those three things right there, he needs to say 15 times a piece.
Right.
You know? And so, like I said, I mean, he did say them, but it wasn't, you're right, it was a little too general.
Yeah. Record low unemployment numbers for African Americans.
Yeah. Yeah, got to say that 10 times.
Yeah.
You know, he in front of certain audiences, he does say that.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. It is a little too much. I think Trump doesn't like memorizing stats. It just isn't his style of speaking. You know, his style of speaking is to get fired up about something, and then you see the crowd go, and you see him. Oh yeah, wait to hear this one.
Right.
Wait to hear that one.
It was the biggest wall that would ever be built, and bigger than the wall of China. Nobody knows this, but like that started out as a pretty small wall, and the wall that we've got devised, it's going to be huge. It's going to be this big, beautiful wall. I mean,
but you know what?
Yeah,
it makes him unique and makes him. You wouldn't be him if he didn't do that. I mean, it would be. He said something too of Somebody asked him about who he thinks is really the president. And he said, well, and he went 8 different ways. And then he goes, but, I got to say this about Biden. I'm not sure he's alive, and I'm not sure he knows he's alive. I just cracked up, and then he said one time that Kamala speaks in rhyme. I think it was to Tucker, and Tucker goes in rhyme, and Trump goes, "Yeah, the wheels on the bus go here, and the wheels on the bus go there." But it's like. And the weird part is like he's saying what I want someone to say. I've been dying. I would have kissed George W. Bush if he would have had 1/10 of 10% of Donald Trump in him, But there was just no. There was just look. Prior to Trump, the last time the Republicans campaigned like they wanted to win something, was 1988. Was Lee Atwater's campaign against Dukakis, who was George Bush Sr.'s whatever. I don't remember what he was. But that's where the tank commercial and the Willie Horton and all that. I mean, that's something that Republicans after that wouldn't touch. They wouldn't touch it.
Right.
No matter what anybody said about Republicans, you saw George Bush Sr. didn't even fight in 1992. I mean, he just kind of laid down and whatever. Bob Dole just laid down, played dead, and then tried to do something at the end. It just was nothing. I mean, Mitt Romney, he wouldn't fight if he were in a Turkish prison. So it's just like it was refreshing, and I think it's one of the things that is I mean, but those are the country club Republicans who are repulsed by anybody's like, why not? I'm just going to say what I think. And I'm not going to have 20 people write it for me. I mean, how many speechwriters you think Donald Trump has?
He's got a couple.
He's got a few people that help him. But overall, nobody's going to tell him what to say and what not to say.
No.
So, I mean, it's kind of...
And I don't think he really uses them much for his rallies. It's more, if he does a State of the Union or something like that.
Yeah, even then, I think he still
But
goes
he's
off
still,
script.
he's still...
He gets laughs and he starts going off script.
Yeah.
Which is okay. I mean, it's okay to have somebody... Like I said, though, I think he's got to do fewer rallies, fewer hour-and-a-half speeches, and more meeting and targeting certain voters. You're in Pennsylvania, you're talking to steelworkers, you're talking to coal miners, you're talking to people that Kamala Harris is going to put out of work. You're talking about the people who put you over the top in 2016. A lot of them voted for him in 20 as well.
Yeah.
You're in Arizona. You are on those border towns. You are on those border towns every time you go there.
Absolutely.
You're in Nevada. You are talking to waitresses and you're talking to casino. No taxes on tips. You are in there. You're doing that every single. I mean, so to me, I think that's the big thing that I'd like. JD Vance is doing a lot of that.
Yeah.
And maybe Vance is kind of a surrogate, but
still not quite the same.
He's not Trump. I like Vance a lot, but. And I think he's a solid choice, but it's just not quite the same.
Right.
It's just nobody brings the circus to
Yes.
town. So let me ask this question. I mean, let's play this out. Let's say the debate is a draw, maybe a slight Trump win, which I think is pretty likely.
Yeah.
What happens after that? What happens that weekend? Where does it go from there? You got the Walz Vance debate about 10 days after that. JD Vance is a great debater too.
Yeah.
Walz is a good liar. So I mean,
that's true.
I don't know if the vice presidential debate.
I don't think it helps anybody, but it can hurt.
Yeah, it can.
If you fumble that debate, I think that it can hurt you.
Who do you think has ever done the worst on a vice presidential debate?
Oh goodness!
Now we won't even count Admiral Stockdale, okay, who I actually think was funny, but a little airheaded, didn't have his hearing aids on.
Yeah.
Who fumbled one? I mean, who torched one? I thought John Edwards is probably the closest I can come to a guy. He was no match for Dick Cheney, and I'm not a huge Dick Cheney fan.
No,
but Cheney is very mellow, yet hits hard.
Yeah,
and that's a tough person to debate because he's not boisterous like Trump, but Cheney hits below the belt and he comes across as your grandfather.
Yeah,
I mean, credit to him. I don't like him very much, but I think that I thought John Edwards was really unimpressive.
Right.
It's just I didn't think Paul Ryan did a very good job.
No.
The only thing I could remember, it didn't affect the outcome, but the Benson Quayle debate is the only quote anyone remembers is Jack Kennedy.
Right.
Quayle kind of stepped in it.
Yeah.
But it didn't really hurt the ticket. Bush was asked about it and I made a good selection.
Right.
Good selection.
I mean, they came after Quayle for
hard, big time.
That Bush's entire term, but it
was insane.
Potato.
Nobody was attacked him and Sarah Palin are the two that I've never seen a vice presidential candidate's attack like them.
Yeah,
just crazy. I can't think. I mean, like you're right though. It can hurt. Rarely it helps. Actually, I just thought of one that really hurt. Tim Kaine.
Oh,
Tim Kaine was awful.
You're right.
There was a focus group that night. And because Kaine played the role of attack dog.
Yeah.
And credit to Mike Pence, not my favorite guy either.
Right.
But Pence fended it off, got his points in, acted like an adult, and Kaine kept trying to get him to mix it up, and Pence wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And there was this focus group. I can't remember that Pence won it. I mean, just overwhelming.
Right.
Like, oh, that guy was a prick. It's like, God, is he rude? Hey, he's just a jerk. I mean, that was the response.
Right. Now, this one, I don't think. I suppose it could have a tendency to paint J.D. Vance in that light. Although I don't think he is. I think
Vance won't step in it,
but
though.
Going on the attack, I mean, he's going to have to say, here's what Walz did when he, as governor of Minnesota, here's what he believes. And on the other hand, Walz just is going to sit and lie about everything and call Vance a liar. And so how does that shake out? How does he win that?
First thing he does is he attacks Harris.
Yeah.
And forces Walz to not defend himself and play the victim, but defend Harris.
Okay.
Hey, you've let in 10 million illegal aliens, and you claim you're tough on the border.
Yeah.
Hey, you claim you're going to tackle inflation. Well, you've had 4 years to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to... This is the big thing Vance has to watch out for is the questioner asking him about Walz.
Yeah.
And he has to deflect that.
Every time? Because
say it once.
People have to know what he's done here.
Say it once and stop.
People have to know about the snitch lines.
Yeah.
People have to know about Minneapolis burning. People
I think more people do than you think.
Yeah.
But
I hope so.
I would try to stay away from the army stuff.
Yeah.
And attack the political stuff.
But you know that they're the people that running the debate will bring that up to try and trap J.D. Vance.
Then here's my answer if I'm Vance.
Yeah.
First, I say thank you, Governor, for your service. I'm not downing anybody who served their country. I served my country. You served your country. No, I believe that you haven't been truthful about some of it. And, you have had ample chances to clear this up and have refused to. You've played the victim. You've blah, 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 blah. And then I would move on. I would say it one time.
Yeah.
And I'd get past it. If they keep badgering me, I'd say, you know what? There's other issues I'd like to talk about here. I'd like to talk about the inflation that's gone on during this administration. I'd like to talk, you just take the question, I'm tired of answering. I answered it, and I'm moving on to something else, and I think they're going to do that to Trump too, and Trump has to take it, like in CNN debate.
Yeah.
Took it, brought it to the border. Took it, brought it to inflation.
Right.
And I think Vance has to say it once so you get it out there and then you move on. But I think attacking Harris and making Walz defend it, reminding the voters of the inflation, the Afghanistan debacle, the gas prices. What are their answers for that? Yeah. What's Kamala Harris's answer for what happened in Afghanistan? Who's been held accountable for it? What does she say? What
and
does
here's
Walz
the thing:
say?
she doesn't have any policies yet, so it's
okay. But then you take what she said in 2019.
Right.
That's all I know. It's all I heard her say.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're going with. And I think also one of the things too that I think Republicans also need to do is get back on these issues and stop complaining that she's not seeking out the media. You can send your surrogates out to do that. But Vance and Trump need to stay on message about it.
Yes.
You can send surrogates out there to go on Twitter and rip her that she hasn't done an interview or has done nothing but word salad. You can send that. So, I mean, but to me, we get off. Every day we're not talking about inflation or energy or the border is a day they're winning to me. So Trump and Vance just keep at that. Send out others to bitch that she's not doing
human
interviews.
Trafficking. I thought that was great that Trump has finally brought that into the conversation.
Yeah, he has. And he's done that before. He has said that before. But, of course, the only highlight anybody plays, unless you listen to the whole thing. That's why I say he's got to talk a little less. Because when you talk for an hour, what I can recall is not always, I just feel like that's something that's got to change a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope that they can pin them down. I hope that they can get their point out. I hope that they're able to lay out their vision for America, because I don't think that Harris and Walz have one yet. I think
they have one.
They
just don't want to have.
They can't talk about it because it's communist. And that's why, and it's been amazing to watch this where it's like, oh, what do you mean? I'm for fracking. Oh, what do you mean? I don't want to ban guns. Oh, what do you mean? It's like now she's for the wall. Who buys this?
Trump's Hitler, but I'm stealing all of his policies.
Right.
Totally absurd.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. So again, Jay, let's go. I want to go back a minute. Play this out again.
Okay.
Let's say the debates are a push, maybe a slight Republican win.
Okay.
My guess is Trump, you will slowly see him regain. He already has in some cases. Some of the states here. Michigan's the one that worries me. But we'll see how that shakes out. I still feel there's a hidden Trump vote there, too.
Although he doesn't have to have Michigan.
He doesn't. But I want her to have to spend $50 million to win it.
Right.
There is a strange lack of polling out of these light blue states.
Right.
In the last 30 days, there have been 3 polls total that I can find between Maine, New Hampshire, Virginia, New Mexico, and Colorado. I can find 3 total. Now, I'm not saying Trump's going to flip those, but remember how those were teetering at the end of, when Biden dropped out, like they were starting to move?
Yeah.
Why are we seeing no polls out of those states?
I don't know.
We see one poll showing Harris up by 3 in Virginia, and everybody just gives her the state.
Yeah.
And there's no interest. There's New York Times, Siena, they're not going there. Nobody's going there to do a poll.
Right.
New Hampshire, which is a state that was fairly close both times. Maine is another close state. Trump's probably going to win that Maine too, like he did. And Maine 1 will probably go Dem. The state, I've seen polls very close there.
Yeah.
Trump was just in Virginia right before the RFK endorsement, where that was in Arizona, but he was in Virginia, which tells me that his internal polling is showing something there. So why are we seeing no? Harris is surging.
Yeah.
She should be ahead by 10 in Virginia. It shouldn't even be a contest.
Right. A surge doesn't get you up 1 point. It's supposed to be like a big swell, a ground swell to push you over the top. It's not eking it out. I don't know. I mean, I don't trust any of it. At the same time, I know what they're capable of. I know what they're willing to do, anything, to be able to win.
Yeah.
And so,
how do you think do you think we get the crazy early voting? Is it nuts? Is it?
It's not going to be 2020, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either.
But I think, you're going to have your 30% that probably go early. That number might increase a little bit. I don't think you're going to see 40, 50%.
Nationally, no. I don't think you're going to see that. You may see it in certain states, but you're not going to see that nationally.
Especially states where they mail out a ballot to everybody.
Nevada, that's one. That's the one thing that concerns me about Nevada, because Republicans have underperformed there. I know the polls show Trump slightly ahead there, but I mean, I think that's a state where if he's ahead or tied, I'm nervous about Nevada. The other states, if he's up 1, he's winning by 6. I'm not concerned. But Nevada's the one state that I know Governor Lombardi won there in 22, but
they lost the Senate race with a really good candidate.
And I know it was 49-48, but if you look at the Biden-Trump, it was 49-48 or whatever. It was something like that. It was like the 4th or 5th closest state.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, they can't get over the hump there. I just, it's strange. So I don't know. I mean, but I am, I'm confident, but a little shaky.
Right.
In those Republican Senate seats, they are worrying me more every day.
Yeah.
I love John. What does that tell you?
Right.
We're in a little trouble here.
Yes, indeed.
But I still worry about Montana. I mean, Trump actually went there. Remember, he went there a few weeks ago?
Yeah.
And a poll came out showing the Republican up 9, which was that's the biggest lead, Tim Shealy, that's the biggest lead he's had.
Yeah.
Same poll, Trump up 27. And why is he out 18 points? Now, granted, I know John Tester's, a 2 or 3 term incumbent, and you've got Bob Casey in Pennsylvania. I actually saw that's really tightened. But Tammy Baldwin, same thing.
Yeah.
You've got long-term incumbents there, but man, I just can't believe that they're out. Trump's outpacing all of them. Mm-hmm. Now his coattails might carry some of them.
Yeah,
but I'm still weary, and to have 55 Senate seats versus 51 is such a world of difference.
Yes.
I mean, it is night and day, a difference there. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they've got to be able to swing that. And, yeah, they say it plays heavily into the Republicans' favor. But, you know as well as I do, the Republicans can mess anything up.
Oh, they can turn gold into lead any day of the week. So let me ask this.
Yeah.
Where does Harris go policy-wise? Because here's my question about what she's doing. Why are people on the left pissed off? I mean, they say she's got all this support, yet she's ditching, at least trying to ditch anything that's to the left except abortion.
Right.
Everything else, she's just, I changed my mind. No, it's not that. It's
right.
So why isn't the left upset?
I don't think anybody really knows what's going on yet. I mean, you have a Kamala Harris that comes out for the border wall, that comes out for
fracking
and all of this, but then comes out and says, "Oh, I'm totally still for the Green New Deal. Climate change is the most important thing."
Yeah,
that
the two biggest threats in the world are Donald Trump and climate change.
Right. So, are you for climate change or are you for fracking? And so I think people are confused and they're not really sure. I mean, the only people that are really willing to go after her are the Palestinian protesters.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. And I'm not even certain that she is against them policy-wise. Granted, her husband is Jewish.
Right, but she is, I have to say this, Biden I consider somewhat wishy-washy on Israel, but he's more pro-Israel than she is, I think.
I think so, too. Just in the things that she has done and said directly with Benjamin Netanyahu in terms of Israel's involvement and the ceasefire. So it's...
Yeah, the one-sided ceasefire they keep trying to push down Israel's throat, and Netanyahu won't accept it.
Right.
And then they try to blame him for it. I'm not sure I think the militant anti-Israel people may sit this one out. Harris is going to try to play both sides. The militant ones are not going to like that.
Right.
Okay, I think she is going to lose a certain faction of the Jewish vote. I think Trump has tried to court that. I think the last Republican I saw do that was George W.
Yeah.
I don't know. The only problem with that is I don't know what that gets Trump electorally. I'm not sure where that. I can see where it could hurt the Dems. And I'm not 100% sure where it helps Trump. I guess I don't know where the Jewish vote is high. What state? It's kind of not like that. It's we don't have a bunch of little Jerusalems around here. So
New York is very high. It's high here.
Yes.
We have a concentration in the cities. There are other places. Obviously, California has a high concentration of Jewish people. They are really only 2% of the world's population.
True.
So that's why having a homeland in Israel is so important. They need to have some place to call home. Yeah. Granted, if you're a citizen here, you call home here, you know, and you're welcome here. But at the same time, having something to identify with, to say, oh, that's where I came from, or that's where my ancestors came from, rather.
Yeah, and I also think that
it's important.
We generalize about blocks of voters, I think, too much. And this is, again, where I think Trump is such a wild card.
Yeah.
That, he definitely is cutting. The guy is, remember the old country club Republicans? Oh, we can't be tough on the border because we won't get the Hispanic. Trump's doing better among Hispanics than any Republican ever.
Yes.
Ever. And he's tougher than anybody on immigration.
Yes.
So I always suspected that. I always suspected that, again, we generalize one group of people way too much. We just assume every Hispanic wants an open border. And that's, of course, BS. We all know that's BS. Mm-hmm. So, again, we just... I don't know what to say about where I think Harris and Walz are going. Hopefully it's in the crapper, but there's enough blue states in this country where it makes it interesting.
Yeah.
It's like both sides, are 180, 190 is like their floor. Trump maybe a little higher than that. The thing I don't like is there's more than 6 or 7 swing states to me. So, I would say keep an eye on Virginia. I think it's the one state that's the sleeper state. That could be the Wisconsin of this election. Could be. And I think Trump's path to 270 is still much easier to get.
Yeah. Do you think North Carolina is safe? A lot of these recent polls are showing it so close. I just don't see how that's possible.
I don't see it either. I think that, again, I'd have to look at the methodology. I've looked at it in Arizona, and I don't trust the polls there. Right now, like Real Clear Politics has Trump up like 1.3. But when you look at the polls internals, they are not weighting. Republicans have an advantage in that state among registered voters.
Yes.
So, and I'll just say this very, very quickly. A Democrat starts Arizona -6.
Yeah.
In registered voters. Like I said, to win that state, Biden won independents by 9 in Arizona and eked out, a win by 0.16 or something.
Right.
I think it was 10,000 votes out of 3.1 million cast or something. Just the smallest amount of victory you could have. Democratic registration is down in that state.
Yeah.
And so for Harris to win that state, she has to win independents by 10 or more. And I don't see that. Either the polls are being weighted wrong, they're oversampling Democrats, undersampling Republicans, oversampling independent, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't trust them. I think they're off in that state. And in North Carolina, I actually think that part of the strategy in North Carolina is there's 2 or 3 very close House races there. There's also the highest profile governor's race. And I really believe that is part of the strategy there is the down the ballot. I think the down the ballot, I think Trump is the clear favorite there. But if Harris loses the state, she wants to make sure it's not by much.
Yeah.
So maybe she'll help pull over the top some of those other places. But I can't think of it. He won it in 16 and 20.
Yeah.
How under these circumstances could he lose it? I think the polls are off there. I just get the feeling that it's not right.
Right. And you say that about registering Republicans in greater number than Democrats. That's also happening in Pennsylvania.
Very much so. Very much so.
I mean, the numbers that
it's been happening for years in Pennsylvania.
And not only registrations, but people who are changing their registration.
Or they're changing to independent.
Yeah.
I know. It is. Party there is doing a very good job of slowly changing that state.
Yeah.
And I think Georgia is an unlikely Harris state. I know the polls are supposedly very close there, but I just have a hunch that at the end of the day, Trump will not only pull out that state, but I think he'll win it by a comfortable margin.
Yeah.
They've made a lot of voting reforms there.
Yeah.
I mean, say what you want about Governor Kemp and Trump not liking each other.
Yeah.
But illegal, you can't ballot harvest there. There's a slew of changes that have been made. And my guess is that they have weeded out some of the 2020 crap. And so my hunch is that Trump will win that state by like 3-5. That's my hunch. Could be wrong. I don't know. I doubt it. But look at it like this. I mean, this is where I talk about the path to 270.
Yeah.
Georgia and North Carolina put Trump at 251.
Yes.
19 in Pennsylvania, and it's over.
Yep.
Okay. Arizona and Wisconsin.
Yep.
And it's over. So he can drop a couple of those states. Harris,
Right.
on the other hand, I don't think she can lose any of those upper Midwest states.
No.
I don't think Pennsylvania, she definitely can't lose. If she doesn't win Pennsylvania, I think she has no path. I just think she has to sweep them. And that actually still leaves her short.
Yeah.
I think it's like 268 if she sweeps the top.
Yeah.
And then she has to win Nebraska too,
Yeah.
which would put her at 269. Then she needs one more state,
Right.
which, so between Nevada, Arizona, and Georgia and North Carolina, one's got to fall.
Yeah.
See, and Trump's path is just way easier. And I'll tell you, I'll give you another James Carville quote, because he went on a show. I love how he dresses too. He dresses like in his LSU sweatpants.
Yeah. If it doesn't say Louisiana, he ain't wearing it.
The Raging Cajun.
Yeah.
And he tried to make the case that, and it was actually a decent analysis by him.
Yeah.
Where he said, if Harris ain't ahead by at least 4 nationally, she gonna lose. She gonna lose the Electoral College.
Huh.
And he got challenged on it. He said, were you around in 2020? Were you there? He goes, Biden won the country by over 3 points and came within 40,000 votes in 3 states of losing.
Yeah.
It was Georgia, Arizona, and Wisconsin all flip. It's over.
Mm-hmm.
So if Harris is up 1, she's losing the Electoral College. Period.
Yeah.
And I'm like, haven't even heard a Republican say that. Carville's at least entertaining.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything else, he's worth watching.
Yeah, I don't know. I heard Robert Kennedy say that it's possible, based on a couple of things I've seen, that it would, they would end up tied, and then it would go to,
Would
to
he get
Congress.
the nod?
He would not get the nod. I mean, really, the House of Representatives right now is run by Republicans. Donald Trump would be the next president of the United States. I'm sorry.
I have seen ways that it can be 269 to 269.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen anybody predicting it.
No. Well, if it didn't happen in 2000, I don't know if it will happen ever. So, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I just have the hunch that Trump will get to 300. I just have the hunch that, like I said, Michigan's the one state. I think he'll flip Nevada, which I know is only like 7 or 6 or 8 or whatever it is. And I think Virginia's the Wisconsin of this race.
Yeah.
But North Carolina, Trump's Waterloo's probably Georgia. It's probably the state that I think he has to have. And then for Harris, hands down, it's Pennsylvania. I mean, she doesn't win Pennsylvania, she'd have to win almost all of the other states.
Yeah.
And I just don't see that. I just can't see that happening. And then here's the thing too. Other than North Carolina, every state we're talking about is a state Biden won.
Right.
She's just doing nothing but playing defense.
That's true.
Well, I think that's a disadvantage too, because you can't hit that many moving targets. And so, I don't know. But Harris and Walz, just disaster.
Oh, it is.
Just a disaster. I don't even want to watch that CNN thing. I've seen a couple clips and it was horrible. And I think they're going to be forced to do another one pretty fast.
Yeah. Do you think that there is going to be anybody that makes Walz answer for not being around during the riots, for shutting all the businesses down in Minnesota during COVID, and I haven't heard anybody else reporting on this, but remember, he allowed his buddy over at the world's largest candy store, Minnesota's largest candy store, to open up when everybody else was shut down. Do you remember the special favor he gave there?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I haven't heard any other outlets talk about that, but if any of you are listening, please follow up on that, because it happened. Is anybody going to make him answer for these things?
No.
He won't put himself in front of anybody that would.
True.
It's all going to be friendly or nothing.
Well, I mean, let me throw out one more scenario here before we wrap this up. What happens if Trump starts pulling ahead, which I think is going to happen in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, probably.
Does it force Harris and Walz to go in unfriendly territory? Can they get away with sitting down with F. Chuck Todd and just answering the same things over and over? I mean, does that persuade anybody? See, the thing I like about going in a tough interview is you get an audience that you otherwise wouldn't get.
Right.
You know, if they go on MSNBC, nobody's watching that. Nobody's watching that except hard left people. What's the point?
Yeah.
Like when Trump goes out in front of all these, look, everybody's watching it. Everybody.
Yeah.
People who love him, the people who hate him, people who don't care, the people who just woke up from a coma, they're all watching him.
Right.
So, I mean, does it force them to come out of the cocoon? You know, do they have to?
I don't think they do. I don't know. They'll think of something else. I don't think they're going to put themselves in front of hostiles or in front of people that at least are fair. I think that they're going to keep putting themselves in front of people that are already agreeing with them, are pushing for them. I think they'll probably go and try to employ some other method of getting into those markets. I don't know what that is yet. You know, a lot of it's going to be buying internet ads.
But does that work?
No.
I mean,
most people skip them, or they get really irritated that they're not getting to the content they want. Or,
but I mean, does an internet ad saying the same crap and having nobody challenge you on it, does that persuade anybody?
I hope not.
I just can't believe that they won't do one thing that challenges them. None. Zero.
Right.
That they could get away with that, and, you know, because I just feel like, let's just pretend. I'll say one more thing here and we'll wrap up. Let's say Trump pulls ahead by a little bit.
Yeah.
The race kind of rights, you know, where it was a month or two ago.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, we have to do something here. Mm-hmm. Doing what we're doing, we're starting to lose.
Right.
And you know how campaigns knee-jerk react to that sometimes.
Yeah.
What do they do to fix it? No, they only want to do one debate.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if Trump pulls ahead, he might, I guess I don't have to debate.
Right.
He would if they would agree to three of them. He would do them.
I think if she does okay in that debate, that there will be another one or two. If she gets slaughtered, they won't do another one.
But if you get slaughtered, what's the only thing that's going to turn you around is to go. Look, we've seen this happen, though. Remember the first Romney-Obama debate? Everybody thought Romney kicked his ass.
Yeah.
They did two more, and nobody remembered the first one.
Right.
So there's an advent. Okay, say she bombs the first one and does okay in the second one. does that negate the first one a little bit? You run from it, and you run from it, and then for some people, that's the only thing they're going to remember.
Right.
See, they're in a catch-22 by trying to control this access.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. I think that's the case. Democrats also, I think, are counting on Judge Merchan putting Trump in prison. I think
not
they're
going to happen.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
He'll get broken out of prison.
Well, there is that.
It will backfire.
I believe it will too, but I don't think Democrats see it that way. I think they see if they take him off of the campaign trail, people forget about him, and nobody sees him, nobody hears from him.
They'll hear from Trump. Trump will be. He'll do interviews from jail. So, I mean, that's to me, that's a non-starter there.
You got that, though. I'm sure there are other elements in this country that people could coerce into trying another another Butler, Pennsylvania. I was thinking Harrisburg, the capital. Another Butler, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I think Trump will get another attempt on his life.
I believe that the Democrat Party is so desperate, knowing that if Trump wins, everything they've built is going to be torn down. Well, that they will do anything to stop him.
Not only that, but Trump goes back in the lead. I fear for his life.
Yeah,
I really do. I really think that they're going to pull the trigger on him. Look, we've already seen one attempt. Mm-hmm. Then we saw the removal of Biden, which came from somewhere, came from whoever was really running our government. I don't know who that is. And I'll tell you what, too. Here's another wild card in there. People talk about Trump and RFK and what RFK is going to do potentially.
Yeah.
You know what I think? I think Trump said to RFK, I'm releasing everything. January 20th, 2025 at 12:03, I'm releasing everything. And I think that's a secret deal between the two of them because they know Trump already knows what's in there, I think.
Yeah.
And RFK probably has a good idea.
Oh, I'm sure Trump's talked to him.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not. I mean, there's
to a point.
There's things that you can and can't say.
Right. That's true.
Top secret.
I'm sure
you have to have clearance for something.
Right. And I think Trump knows.
Yeah.
And I think he's like, hey, but we're not going to talk about it now because.
Right.
You know why? They're both targets.
Yeah.
So. That's the other, but I'm telling you, they're going to, no question that's coming out.
Oh, yeah.
Just without a doubt.
Trump has really one goal if he gets reelected, and that is to root out, expose, and destroy the deep state and restore America back to its constitutional settings to the degree that he is able.
And I think that's part of the realigning of politics because I think Republicans have supported too much of that too often.
Yeah. We've drifted a long ways from our constitutional moorings, and a lot of that is because Republicans have not put up a fight about it.
Well, and also I think the blind support of the FBI and the CIA, the blind funding, the ripping on the Department of Education but doing nothing about it.
Yeah.
I think people are sick of that too.
Yeah.
And I think the Education Department is on its... They're getting last rites, I think, right now. And you take the Department of Energy with it. Other than 3 Mile Island, you tell me what they've done. And when did that come in? Carter? I mean, or the 60s? I don't know. I don't remember. But
well, here's the thing, though. And I know Trump can go scorched earth because he's got one term, but he's got to think about his
he does.
About J.D. Vance coming behind him.
Yeah, he does.
And making sure that they're able to defend what they're doing and expose it in such a way that all the Americans are going to be able to see with fresh eyes. Oh, goodness, that's been going on?
Yeah.
Because if they start painting this about if they're taking money away from our children, they don't want to fund education, and they want our kids to be stupid. They
can't be any dumber under these democratic schools.
Well, you and I know that, but you know how the arguments they put up, they don't make any sense. They're not true, but at this loudly, and so they've got to be smart about how they do it and do it in such a way that the world will see what happened.
And this is where, though, I worry about the Republicans in Congress, because
they're weak-kneed.
But I mean, if they wanted to fund the Department of Education, they could have done it any time since 1994.
Yep.
And they haven't. So Trump can go out there and say, we're going to get rid of this, but
can they fund a department if he just gets rid of it?
I don't know. I think the way to do it, too, might be to slowly dismantle it. Like, you might have to slowly, start with, we're not going to mandate anything anymore.
Yeah.
And then go to, we're not going to buy all these school lunches anymore. You might have to slowly, over time, lay out a dismantling. The problem with that is the next election comes and it could be, has a department ever been gotten rid of before at the federal level?
No.
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
So this is kind of uncharted waters. And I'll tell you what else, though.
Yeah.
You got to go after other stuff like the FDA and people like that.
Yeah. They're out of control.
All the garbage that's in our food. I mean, there's where Robert Kennedy has some legit points about that why are we the unhealthiest nation in the world? There's a reason.
Yeah,
and
I think putting him in charge of that is a great idea.
Somehow he has to have a role in that somehow. He was asked if he would be CIA director, and he goes, "Yeah, right. Good idea. Good way to get confirmed. Sure." I'd really get confirmed. But no, it would be a good role. Very specific role.
Yeah.
One that he's passionate on, he can focus on.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to say I'd love to have Elon in the cabinet. God, I'd love to have him in the cabinet. But he won't do it because of his money. They'll tear his money apart.
Although he has kind of already agreed that he would like to be in charge of government efficiency.
Yeah.
Having him go in and just coldly cut and cut and cut and cut and
You'd
cut.
Probably have a blast.
He would love that. I think that's perfect for him.
Yeah, put him in a role that's not official. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Tulsi Gabbard as
DOD. She ends up at DOD. Vivek ends up there unless he goes to the Senate in Ohio, which is the other possibility. I think he ends up in the Senate.
He might.
That's where I think he goes. I'd like him to be Treasury Secretary. But,
yeah.
And I think
there.
I think his State Department is big for Trump too. I mean, I think he has got to avoid the Mike Pompeos. He's got to find somebody that shares his views and is. I think there's two things. Yeah, he's got to share Trump's view a little bit, but you got to get the career people out of there.
Yeah.
You got to get the backstabbers. You got to find somebody who's willing to clean house there. I think that's even more important because ultimately Trump's in charge of foreign policy. The Secretary of State carries out policy.
Yeah.
And I think if he gets a good loyal person that is going to do that, and that you got to clean up that department. I mean, you got to. That department's filth. It's
absolutely
garbage. It's all contractors and people with conflicts of interest, and that department just needs to be cleaned out.
Do we get out of the UN? Sorry, I know you started the music. No,
I don't.
Okay.
You know what though? Might be like NATO where Trump blusters, and they capitulate. That could happen.
Yeah, that could happen.
All right, I'm out of breath, folks. Styling, profiling, jet flying, limousine riding, Wheeling, dealing, son of a gun. Jay, make us feel better.
I don't know. Is that possible in this day and age? Everything we're going through, I don't know. I'll do my best. Oh, goodness. What? I don't know. We look at everything going on around us, and it's discouraging. And it's easy to get discouraged. It's easy to complain. It's easy to lose hope. It just is. And we've got people that are opposite us that all they seem to do is lie, cheat, steal, do whatever it is that they need to do to win. Because nothing is more important to them than that. And here we sit, and having to live through increased crime rates, having to live through inflation, our dollar declining in value, the threat of our dollar being depegged as the world reserve currency. I could go on and on and on and on and do another 2-hour podcast on all the problems that are facing us. Immigration, human trafficking. I could do it, but I'll spare you. Here's the thing. We could sit and we could focus on these things, and we could complain about these things, but the only thing that is going to change the course that we are currently on is to get involved. And that's it. To speak up and find our voice again. To not be afraid when we're threatened by people on the left that want to cancel us, that want to expose us, that want to dox us, that want to gather together and demonstrate against us, that are louder than we are because they've got the press as the wind at their backs. We've just got to do it. We have to do the right things. We have to start bringing together like-minded people to tell the story, to have eyes on the ground, to have ears that are open to what's going on in their communities, what's going on at the state level, what's going on federally, and being able to tell the stories in such a way that the eyes and ears of Americans are opened. We have to help create such a groundswell of people that are upset about what's going on, how we as Americans will put up with something as long as it's sufferable. Well, at what point are things not sufferable any longer? We're seeing that our God-given rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are all being violated. The Constitution is not even adhered to, let alone, I haven't even heard it referred to much over the last 4 years. So we need to come up with a way to encourage ourselves, to unify ourselves, and stand in the gap and fight, because that is truly, that's what's going to make all the difference. We've got to fight. That doesn't mean taking to the streets with torches and pitchforks and burning things down like the left does. No. Instead, it just means to get up every day and we do what we need to do. We don't live by their rules. We work with excellence and put them to shame, and we open our mouths and don't allow the lies to stand. That's what it comes down to. We've got to find our spine. And we can do it. We've got to come together. If you have things in your neighborhood, that things in your city, things in your county, things in your school district that you want the world to know about, you email them over to us at commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. That's commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. If we all band together, we will be able to win. But the choice is yours. Are you willing to sacrifice a little comfort for long-term victory now, for your kids, for your grandkids? Or is comfort more important? And we're willing to take that risk and watch things continue to decay around us as we sit with the things that make us comfortable now. Because what is available to us to provide that comfort, those things are going to shrink. Those things are going to become less available. And someday, all we're going to be left with are the shambles of what we once had. We can do this. We can win. We can come together. We have come together before through far worse. I would argue us coming together after the Civil War took a miracle. And we're kind of in miracle territory again. But miracles are not impossible. They happen every day. They may seem impossible when you look at the natural law of science, but a miracle goes over and above that. We just have to do our part and let God do the rest. So we love you, Minnesota, but now it's your turn to get to work.